Hello friends, Paul here. In this tutorial we're going to learn the initial device configuration on brand new switch, and then we're going to configure our passwords as well as telnet session. First we're going to set up our topology. It's very simple topology. Here we're choosing only few devices here. First we're going to choose network devices, and then we click on the switches, and we're going to use one 2960 model switch here. Then we need end devices, and we're going to click PC. That's going to be our console port connection to access the switch for the initial configuration. Then we need another PC for later on, that going to be act as our telnet client for the remote access to the switch. Now we're going to do the connection, and here this is the icon that show you all different types of cables we have in the packet tracer. For the console connection we're going to use our rollover cable, and if your device sports, then you can use the USB port, GSP cable also, if the devices have the USB port on it. But in our case we have to use that console cable here that's gonna connect on the PC6 on its a serial port, and RJ45 console port connection on the switch. Now we have connectivity between these two devices, and that's all our topology. So before we start the configuration, I want to give you the overview that I have the short list here, what we're going to perform. First we going to configure the host name for the switch 3. Then we're going to configure the enable secret password for all the users that they're going to access the device for later on. Then we're going to configure the console password for the device security for the future, and then we're going to configure the telnet VTY password, which is the required for the remote connection. After that we're going to configure the command transport input command, in which we're going to configure the telnet options only to have the remote access in this lab. After that, another requirement for the telnet session is configuring the IP address on the switch virtual interface, so that it can send and receive the frames on any port in its default vlan 1. By default on the Cisco switch all the ports are in vlan 1, and the interface VLAN on the switch is act like a network interface card, and those configurations we need for the remote access using telnet. After that we're going to configure the command using service password encryption, because the telnet is not a secure and all our passwords are in the clear text. So we're going to use service password encryption for the security, and then we're going to save our configuration from the RAM to the NVRAM, and we're going to use command copy space running config space startup config. That will save our running configuration in the RAM to the startup configurations in the NVRAM for backup. Then we're going to configure the telnet client IP address, and we're going to use the same network and the same subnet that we're going to configure on interface VLAN, and we're going to use the same network and same subnet on our PC7, and we're going to do the connection between the telnet client and the telnet server. In the Cisco device they are enabled by default for the client server. So when we're going to do connectivity between the PC7 and the switch 3, they will perform the Telnet client and the Telnet server connection activity. Alright, so Telnet is a virtual terminal protocol that uses the TCP port number 23, and it provides the bidirectional connection between the client and the server. So let's start. We're going to click the PC6 and we're going to have the access. We're going to click on the desktop here, and to have the console connection access to the switch, we need emulator program application, and this is going to open the terminal emulator application, and we're going to click the terminal here. Now you see the terminal configuration, and we're going to click OK. Now we have access to our device. If you notice on the screen, this all the informations about Cisco iOS software and all the different version and information about all the hardware components used on the new Cisco device. So here we're going to press enter, and we are placed in user mode on a switch, and here we're going to issue enable command and press enter. Now we are in our privileged executive mode, and we're going to use configure terminal command here, so we can enter into the global configuration mode for setting our passwords. So here we're going to use conft in short of configure terminal, press enter. Now we are in our global configuration mode, and we can do all the configurations on the passwords here in this mode. And first we're going to use let me scroll in the side so we can view our shortlist that we're going to do step by step. And alright, so we are in our global configuration mode. First we're going to configure our host name. We're going to use the command hostname space, and this is our switch 3. So what I'm going to use simply a switch 3 as our hostname. All set. The next we're going to configure our enable secret command. We're going to use enable secret, enable secret command, and we can configure enable password command here, but enable secret command overrides the enable password with better encryption. Now you can choose any simple password so we can remember through our practice, and I'm gonna use enable 3 for our enable secret password, and going to click enter. Next we're going to use the line mode for our console password, so we're going to use line console 0 because we have only one console port on our switch. Press enter. Now we're going to use password command, and you can give any password you want to give here. I will use console 3 for our password. Press enter. Now we have to issue the login command that will prompt you for the password. Press enter here. Now we are in the console configuration line, and we have to go back out of it, use exit. It will take us one step back. Now we are on our global configuration mode. Now we're going to enter in the line BTY connection for our Telnet password. We're going to use 0 space 15 here because, oh my bad, it's going to be a line BTY 0 to 15 and enter here, and we're going to use the password. In the switch for the Telnet configuration, we can have up to 60 Telnet sessions. That's why our command shows 0 to 15 all the session, and it's a good practice to give the password on all the session. So we're going to use password here. Let's say we say the Telnet 3. I'm using the 3 with those because of our switch 3, so that's easy to memorize for now. So we press enter here, and again we have to give the login command so that it can authenticate you when you use the remote session. Alright, press enter here. We all set here. Now we can use the end command here, or we're going to use the control Z command here. Now we are back on our privilege executed mode. So far we set our host name, enable secret, console password, and Telnet BTY password. Now we're going to configure the transport input command to specify only the Telnet for remote access. Alright, so I use Control G to get out. Now we're going back again in that line BTY mode, and I just want to show you the transition between the different modes here. So we're going to use conf t again, line BTY, and 0 to 15 here. Now we are in that, and we're going to use transport input command, and if you click here for the help, you will see that all the options we have, we can use all, which is by default. If we didn't configure any secure shell or Telnet options, this is gonna be all protocols. We can issue none command here for the no protocols, and if you want to use secure shell, that's going to be another video, and we can use that option. But here we're going to mention only Telnet for our configuration in this practice lab, and we're going to press enter. We all set here. I'll show you now. Use the end command to go back on our switch 3's privilege executed mode. Alright, so these are the variation. In the beginning we have user mode, we give the enable command, and we get into our privilege. You can call it simply a privilege executed mode, or you can simply set executed mode, and we can execute the command from there. All our show commands are work on over this privilege mode, and for the global configuration we have to use the conf t. Alright, so next, now we're going to configure the IP address on the switch virtual interface. For that we're going to use conf t again, and we're going to use the command interface vlan1 and press enter. Now we have to issue the IP address. We're going to use IP address here. Now we don't have more devices in our topology, so we can use any one network. I could use, okay, class C. Let's say 192.168.10.1 space. Now we give to the mask 255.255.255.0. We're using here the default mask of 24 prefix. Enter. And to bring this interface up, we have to use the no shut command and press enter and Control Z and all set. Now we configure the IP address on the VLAN 1 and we use the no shut command to bring it up. In the Cisco device, the switch, all the interface ports by default are enabled. We don't need any no shut command on them. We can connect any device or any port and it will start working. For next, now we have our configuration here, so I'm going to use the show command here, show run command, to show you our password. So from the beginning, scroll a little bit up, you can see your host name is switch3, then we have enable secret, and this is the type 5 MD5, and this is your encrypted password. You know what is your password, right? But nobody can't look at it and tell you what the password is. And now we're going to scroll down and all the way down, and here you see you have the fast Ethernet 24 ports shown and the 2 gigabit Ethernet ports that combined give you 26 ports on the Cisco 2960 model here. And now you can notice here we have the interface VLAN 1 and we just configure with the IP address of class C network. We're going to make another video in the future on the IP configuration and the subnet mask in the detail. And for now, if you go scroll down here, you will see this is your line console 0 password, console 3 here we give. On the line BTY for Telnet, we have Telnet 3 for all over 16 sessions. And now we're going to use service password encryption command to encrypt our password and our future password. So we're going to use conft service. It's going to be a password encryption. And if you don't remember the syntax for the command, you can use your tab key to complete your command. For example, if I use tab key here, it will complete our command, and then we're going to press enter, Control Z, all set, and I'm going to show you show run command again, and I'll take you to down to show our password again, and you will see the changes now right here. Now if you notice, before it shows our password, now they are encrypted with the type 7. This encryption is not that good encryptions, but something better than nothing, because we're just doing on a practice lab, and these are easy breakable. You can do the reverse engineering on that, but for now this is good practice to use some kind of encryption on the password. Next, we have our configuration for the password, all our initial configuration, as well as for our Telnet configuration. Now we're going to save our running configuration to our NVRAM. Alright, so we're going to use copy running config space startup config and press enter, and ask you for the destination file name, and we press enter, and it gives you the display that building configurations, and it's okay. Now we all set. We save our configuration now. Even at this time, if you want to reload your device, your startup configuration will be saved. Alright, so next let's verify our password setting. So I'm going to exit from this session, we go back to our terminal monitor here on the terminal port again, and now if we press again for the next session, you will notice that it will ask you for your console port connection. Alright, so we have to give our console password here, and we choose, when we give it console 3, press enter. Now it places us in our user mode, and we're going to use the enable command. Now it's going to prompt us for the password. Every single user need to give enable password to get into the privileged user mode or privileged executive mode. Now our password, enable 3, enter. Now we got in our access to our privileged mode. So our configurations are working, everything is fine. Now I'm gonna close this window, and now we're going to access our PC7 and set up the connection. And PC7 are gonna be, I'll leave it PC7, and I'm gonna use here, we're gonna mention a Telnet client. Alright, and we're going to put the connection with the switch 3, which is going to act as a Telnet server, and alright, Telnet server. And on the switch, the Telnet server is enabled by default, and now we're going to use straight through copper cable, and we're going to have the connection. Click on the PC7, choose the fast Ethernet port, and you're going to click on the switch, and I'll choose the fast Ethernet 7 from PC7 to the interface port fast Ethernet 07. And now we have the physical connection here. Now the next part is to give the IP address. Alright, Telnet client IP address. If you remember that the password or the IP address, sorry about that, 192.168.10.1 with prefix 24, that's what we use. Now we're going to use the same network dot 10. Alright, 192.160.10. we're going to use the same here on our PC, and we give that Telnet client. Now we're going to use the configuration here on the fast Ethernet port, and here we're going to give 192.168.10. You can give any IP address from 1 to 254, and here we already choose the 1. Now let's say I'll give the 7 here, make it more easy, and you can use tab key, and it will give you the default mask for your class. See, 24. And now we all set. We don't need any other setting here because we don't have any other device, and the network is only the local LAN here. So next part is we're going to click the desktop, and now we're going to open the command prompt. And here I want to show you, because we just have the brand new PC also, and we have a no connectivity and no traffic on the network yet. So its ARP table is empty. Alright, there's no entry found in the ARP table. There's a reason why I'm showing you at the first place. And now we're going to use our telnet command, and our destination 192.168.10.1. now what's gonna happen if you Okay, let's just revise your theory concept here. Because PC don't have the destination address, MAC address, which is our MAC address for interface VLAN 1, we're going to only telnet on our destination device. So before it send the TCP connectivity and send that for Ethernet frame on the network, before that it will use the ARP process to resolve that issue. It will send the ARP process to the destination IP address of .1 on the interface VLAN, and the switch will, or we can say the telnet server, at first place is going to be telnet, and the switch going to send it back the ARP reply with the MAC address of the particular or the receiving interface, or from the PC7 it's a destination MAC address. Alright, and once it resolve the ARP address, then will it create the telnet session, and it create the packet, encapsulate into the Ethernet frame with the source MAC address of fast Ethernet 0, and the destination MAC address will be the interface VLAN 1's MAC address, which is going to be a virtual, and it will send the frame on the traffic. And then if you remember the TCP connectivity, it's going to have three-way handshake, and they will set up the telnet connectivity on that. Alright, so let's go click on the PC7 again, and we're going to press enter here, and alright, now we have remote access using our telnet protocol, and it prompts us for our telnet password. So we know our telnet password, telnet 3. Press enter. Now it places us in our user mode. We're going to use enable command here. Press enter, and you have to know your enable secret or enable password here to have the access for our privilege mode. Alright, it's enable 3, and press enter, and now we all set. We have remote access to the device. Now we can do any setting or future configurations you want. You can create new VLANs and or other new setup for, and now we can do configure our interfaces and all the different setting you want. In the future, now we don't need any console connection, like we have to have the first initial access using the console cable on the console port, and using an emulator software to have the access to the device. And then we're going to we did set up already our initial configurations for enable secret, console password, our telnet password for our telnet session, and we use the service password encryption. And this initial setup is replicating in the real environment, and if you in reality you're using the new device, that's the process you have to use for the initial setup. Once you create your initial credential on the switch, after that we can have telnet remote access to the device, and in the future video we're going to configure the secure shell, which is the best, and then you can use access your device with the secure shell. Alright, so that's all for now. This is our a simple topology and our simple basic configuration on the device, and we see how we can have the remote access using the telnet only. Alright, so before we wrap up everything, I want to look at this drop down. Alright, let me pull it down here. Alright, this is a simple overview and the simple information about your exam and your new CCNA 200-301 exam, and the timing is 2 hours 120 minutes and the cost is $300. And for the syllabus you can use your the cert book, official cert guide, and they have, by the Cisco Press, they have volume 1 that covers 60% of the syllabus, volume 2 cover 40%. Once you complete your volume 1 and volume 2 for the preparation, then you can go for the exam, and the number of questions on the exam will be either 100 or you may get 1 or 2, and it depends. And the passing score is 825. Alright, that's a basic about the Cisco exam for your CCNA exam. And for your exam topics, alright, I will suggest you guys download the CCNA 200-301 PDF V1 version, and for that you can simply go onto the cisco.com, then choose the career certification, and then look for the CCNA and click CCNA, and then look for the exam topics. And if you scroll down a little bit on the page, you will see that download PDF format. Click on that and you can download your copy, make it hard copy if you want. That will help you with your preparation. Alright, so you can follow your PDF format with your book, and you can tally that how much you covered, and you can set your pace for the study. And in the Cisco book, the Cisco clearly mentioned codes configure and verify all refers to skills you should practice at command line interface of a router or a switch codes. Which that means if you download your PDF, in the PDF you will see the terminology they use, configure and verify. On all those topics they mention this way. That means you should know your practical knowledge on the command line interface also, and they will test you guys on the questions that based on your practice on your command line. And we are going to practice on those topics using packet tracer right here, and I just copy paste here for you guys to show you what I mean. In the catalog you will see that configure and verify IPv4 addressing and subnetting. That means you not only need understanding of the concept, as well as you should have the practical knowledge using the command line interface. And next topic here, they mention clearly the configure network devices for a remote access using the secure shell. As you notice that today we just configured only for remote access using the Telnet. In the next video we're going to configure the remote access using the secure shell, and they might test you guys on the syntax of the commands or the process you're going to use to configure those different topics on your command line interface. Alright, next for the practice, I would suggest you guys download the packet tracer. Alright, because all our videos going to be totally based on the packet tracer, and to all the labs we're going to use the packet tracer only. Alright, so to download the packet tracer you have to go to the netacad.com, and you can download it for free. Only you need to log in with your account. And the trick, don't go directly to the netacad.com. Simply create account with the cisco.com, and you can use those credentials to log into the netacad.com and just simply directly download the packet tracer, so you don't have to go to other process the netacad.com wants you to do. So simply use any email account and set up the account with the Cisco and log into the netacad.com and download your packet tracer. So in the Cisco book they mention the different types of the questions, and I just shortlist those here for you to have an overview. And they said the multiple choice, it could have one answer, or it could be a multiple answers in one question. It depends. If it's a multiple choice, they will mention choose 2, choose 3, and the second type they mention is a drag and drop questions. In my opinion, or you can say with my experience with the Cisco, mostly they choose the comparison between the two entities, like we can say the difference between the TCP and UDP, for example, and they will give you the different characteristics of TCP and UDP shuffled, and you put them separately drag and drop. It could be the order of operation, like in our DSCP configuration setup that we use the DORA, and like that, for example. All right, it could be anything. In the future we're going to do practice on those different topics also. Next is the Telnet. Telnet is alright, this is totally on my experience with the Cisco. They always give 4 questions on any given one scenario, and they give you any simple a view of a topology. It could be a output from any simple device, and they will ask you question on that. Alright, the next is simulated lab. Simulated lab is they give you the topology, and you can have access to particular device, and then they give you the questions, and they give you a problem to troubleshoot, and you have to have access on the device, and you will configure the configuration. Alright, and save your configuration, or it can save by automatically, the instructions will be there. And the next one is simulate question. The simulate is you're gonna have topology, and you're going to have the access on the device, but you're not gonna do configuration to solve the problem. Simply you're going to use the show command on the command line interface, and look at the configurations on the device, and you're going to answer accordingly, totally based on the configuration. So these are the different types they mention in the book, and the purpose of telling these things together at one place, so you can set up your mind, and you can set up your timelining for the preparation. And if you want to take the full advantage of these simple videos that we're going to have here, better first go through your book, alright, and then do the practice on the packet tracer, and revise your concept using the command line interface. And these are the different type of questions. The books mention this few questions also, but you can use other sources for your practice, and that way it's more easy to memorize the stuff. And here the bonus 2 questions on our lab for today. Alright, let's go. Wow. Which command you will use to permit Telnet only for remote access? We just configure it and look at the first one, transport input Telnet, which is look like that's the answer, but if you look at the syntax, there is a catch. The command should be clearly transport space input space Telnet. Alright, so A is not our answer. Transport input all, that is by default configuration, and transport input there is no command, and the answer will be transport input Telnet. If we configuring scare shell instead of Telnet, we're going to use scare shell. If we are not configured, then by default it's gonna be a all. Alright, the next is, what command requires authentication for remote access using Telnet only? Just think about the answer. We just configured our configurations for the remote access, and I knew I mentioned it. The answer is login, because when we give the Telnet password, after that we configure the login command in our line VTY 0 to 15, because if we don't give the login command, it will not authenticate for the password. Alright, so now we issue the login command, and when we use our PC or our Telnet client to have the Telnet session, what we noticed, it prompts you for the password, for the Telnet password, and we mention the Telnet password, and then we have the access on the user mode, and then we give the enable secret password, and then we have the clear access. So that's all for now. Before we wrap up here, I request you guys, please subscribe. This is my new channel, and please share with your friend circle, with your study circle, and please subscribe it, and see you in the next video, in which we're going to cover our other basic configuration on the Cisco switch, and we're going to configure the configuration for having remote access using the scare shell. Thank you for your time. Thank you very much. Bye for now.